Welcome back. Today I'm going to review a new toy that I bought. This is my new Unimig Razor 200 pulse unit. We're going to do a bit of an unboxing, show what comes in the box, show the accessories that I bought to go with it and why, go through the machine that I'm coming from that I've been using for the last 2 years, why I bought this, do some test welds and some other stuff, go through the features. Yeah, let's do it. Pretty much the sole reason I bought this unit is because it does double pulse MIG, which is specifically for alloy, I believe. The previous unit that I was running for the last couple of years, I've done some reviews on that, on the Lincoln 200M. I'll put them up the top somewhere with a card. It is meant to run alloy MIG, but it doesn't do double pulse and all that sort of stuff, and I couldn't get it to run properly. So really keen to test this one out. From their videos I see on social media, it looks pretty fantastic to me. In defense of the Lincoln 200M, it is like a $1,600 machine, and that's including the TIG lead as well. This one's $2,600 out of the box, no TIG lead because of the options you can get. You have to add that on as well. So I'll go through that in a minute. So yeah, it's a much dearer machine. Obviously it's gonna be more specs, more features. Yeah, just more of everything, paying a higher price. Like I said, I'm not gonna run through every tech feature. I've gotta sit down and read the book. I'm just gonna go through the key attributes. It is a 15 amp unit, so 15 amp plug. I'm lucky enough I've got one 15 amp outlet behind me over here. The Lincoln is a 10 amp plug, so a little bit more user friendly for your home hobbyist that only has a normal shed with no 15 amp. It does single pulse and double pulse MIG. It's got this huge 5-inch touch screen, but it still has some dials as well, so I'm guessing they've done that so when you've got gloves on you can still use the controls. The Unimig can run flux cord wiring, so your gasless wire, and can also do your conventional gas shielded. TIG wise, it only does DC TIG, which is sort of where the Lincoln is great. It's a lower price point and does AC and DC. Not sure if I'm gonna miss the AC TIG on this. That's why I'm hanging on to the Lincoln as well for a while. I think by design, you're meant to do all your alloy welding as double pulse MIG, so I haven't done any of that yet, so I just want to make sure it suits all the jobs that I'm going to be doing in the near future. Otherwise, I'll still hang on to the Lincoln. And it also does stick welding up to 180 amps with a 4mm electrode. Duty cycle wise, it is slightly higher duty cycle, being a 15 amp unit, just ever so slightly. For MIG welding, the Lincoln does 10% duty cycle at 200 amps. This is 15%. TIG, it does the same, 20%, 20%. Funnily enough with TIG, they're both 20%, even though this is a 15 amp machine. That's at 200 amps, which is pretty much max. And for stick welding, this is another 5% higher duty cycle as well at 15% versus 10%. The Unimig obviously has a VRD for electrical protection. It's got a 4-geared wire drive, which helps with pushing aluminium wire, I believe is the target of that. It's generator compatible, but you need a minimum of an 11 kVA generator, which I believe is getting quite big. The Lincoln, I never ran it off a generator, but I'd say it only uses a smaller unit, being a 10 amp. That's pretty much it for the key features. Let's take a closer look at the unit itself. Physically, the Unimig looks to be a slightly larger unit, which I guess you'd expect for more features compared to the Lincoln Powercraft, but it's once you get under the hood, you start to see what you get for your money. They're both pretty similar from the front. It's got all your standard connections and controls. Really not much difference there. On the front of the machine, you've got your 5-inch touchscreen, your control knobs. I think that's a menu button, back button, positive connection, negative connection, MIG torch connection. This is for a spool gun. I think that's like a 12-pin connection it's called for spool gun accessory. Your TIG torch connects into that one to control your on-off control switch or a foot pedal. And you got your gas flow connection at the front. Pretty simple on the back of the machine. You've just got a large on-off button, your gas connection from your gas cylinder, and a table showing your duty cycles for different welding processes. Inside the machine is where it starts to get pretty beefy. The door opens upwards where the Lincoln opens downwards, so I do like that a little bit better. Inside you've got your spool holder, you've got this 4-geared wire roller setup. It does look pretty beefy. And then this bit up here is your polarity changeover. So I think you unscrew that screw there and drop that copper buzz bar down to the other one to reverse your polarity. Hard to see there, but you've got a positive and a negative just there. Inside the Lincoln 200M, you can see the door comes down, which is a bit annoying hitting on your hangers here if you're going to use it on a trolley. They're also both quite large units, so I had to fold up this bit of alloy to replace that top tray just to get more length to sit the unit on. And you can see in here there's really only this single roller set. I'm guessing they call that a double because that's called 4 on the Unimig, and and it's 4 rollers and this is 2 rollers. So this must be a 2 roller unit that's a 4 roller geared unit. I think the big improvement with the Unimig one is those 4 rollers are geared together. I'll show it in the close up here. These are a drive roller straight on the shaft in the Lincoln, and the top one is just an idler bearing really, so should be a lot more grip on that wire, pushing it forward, especially when doing soft materials like aluminium. One little nice design feature I do like is on the Lincoln, they only have this little table inside the door, and with the door folding down, it's a bit hard to get to, but have a go at the one on this Unimig. A huge color layout, taking up pretty much all the real estate on that top panel, and it's sort of got all the information that you would possibly need, so you don't have to try and find the book and dig that out. It's got a brief overview of the control screen and how to use it, details about the drive rollers, how to switch polarity, more stuff about polarity, tells you which cords go where, which is a big advantage. On the previous Lincoln review video, a lot of the questions are polarity related about which cables go where on the Lincoln unit. The book sort of tells you, but it's a bit hard to understand. And it's a bit more confusing on the Lincoln because it's got this other jumper lead, and then you sort of have to figure out what welding type you're doing, and then you got to figure out which port you're actually putting it into. You know, are you moving your earth clamp over to the positive and then putting the switching in, or the other way around? Even I found it a little bit confusing trying to understand it out of the book. Once you figure it out and just write it down, then you're fine. But just if you're inexperienced, you don't know the unit and you're not confident, it just makes it a little bit harder. So your smart move by Unimig, having a clear switching place instead of using a jumper cable. I do like that straight out of the box. They've even listed your MIG torch spares with part numbers. A whole chart for MIG welding for the manual settings if you're not doing synergic. And then it's got some TIG setup and stick setup guides. Righto, let's fire up this spaceship. You can hear it clicking and clacking. Fan fire up for a test fire. Here we go. Being that it's a full complex unit, it's probably going to take 30 seconds to fire up. There you go, not too bad. Damn, it looks like it's got some features. I've got some light reading to do tonight to read this whole book. Anyway, some basics as a first overview, and then we'll revisit this in a later video in a couple of months once I get the hang of it. So like I said, your control knobs. That one looks like it does amps and voltage. This one will do arc length, I think. You can adjust your, like your stick out, like your arc length. Tons of settings here across the top. I'd say the first one here is where you change your weld type, weld method. So stick, TIG, MIG. Second one is currently in synergic as a default. You can put it in manual, MIG. Your synergic, where you've got 100 different modes. I think you put in wire, gas, and material thickness, and it sets all the rest for you. And then you got pulse and double pulse. Your 2T, 4T, or spot welding. So that's your functions, whether you want to push down to weld and release to stop, or whether you want to go on with a click and then off with a click is 4T. Spot welding, I'm not too sure how that works. I'll have to look that up. It's got a hot start function. It's got all your jobs you can save. So you can set up to 100 saved jobs, I believe. And then just, you know, if you're doing repetitive welding or some sort of manufacturing, if you're making some sort of widget at home, then you can just save that, punch that in, and away you go. Pro extras, what's that? Oh, Jesus. This is where it starts to get technical. Hot start current, hot start timer, slope, your inductance correction. So I believe that changes the configuration or characteristic of the arc. It's getting way too technical for me. Burn back timer, pre-gas timer, stop slope, stop timer, stop current, post-gas timer. I'm gonna need a TAFE course to figure this out. I'd say this picture here is your weld wire type. So mild steel, stainless steel, different aluminiums, and silicon bronze. There you go, plenty there to choose from. Your wire diameter, your different gas types, CO2, I think one of them would be Argo Shield, one might be an Argon Helium blend. It's all on percentages, it doesn't actually say what gas it is. I'll have to look that up as well. Looks like across the bottom you've got your wire speed, your thickness that it's set in the synergic mode, and that is your transfer arc length. Then I'm pretty sure if you go and change to another weld setting, there'll be different other settings to the right. So if I go and change it to TIG, you can hear it click inside the machine. The screens change. Same thing again. That'll be amperage. And, oh, this one jogs through all your other features. Oh, yep, and you can follow it all on the bottom here. So from the start of your weld, whether it's start current, timers, then your slope, and then you start getting into the weld itself. So frequency, Jesus, there's some settings in this thing. And all the way through to your post gas at the end. So it should be common sense once you get a hang of the methodologies of the different functions, but pretty easy to follow, that it follows sort of the life cycle of a weld. Across the top here, you've got different TIG types, so that's going to be interesting. It's got a mix, pulse, or standard. I'm going to have to look up what that mix is. That's going to be interesting, but that's what it favors out of the box. You've also got a synergic mode in TIG. There you go. So you must be able to pick material type, and there you go. Dial in your thickness down the bottom there, and it sets your amps, start current, all from there. That would be really handy if you are a bit like me and you don't know which exact settings to use. Instead of going through a lot of trial and error, having those settings saved in the machine should save you a ton of time. Same again, you've got your different trigger modes, 2T, 4T, spot welding. You can save stacks of jobs in there as well. Pro settings, where it gets scary again. Same thing again, this is all your different settings for TIG welding if you want to get real technical with it. The next one's a material that you're welding. So mild steel, stainless steel, it's even got titanium. I don't know when I'm going to be building something out of titanium, but you never know. The next one is wire size. It says 1.6 or 2.4 mil. By the look of that point, I think it's referring to tungsten size, but I'll double check that. Gas selection, it's only got argon in there, and that's pretty much it for high frequency TIG. Even the stick welding seems to be getting quite technical. It's got synergic mode as well, manual or synergic. It's got pro settings. A couple of settings in there that I'm not too sure what they do yet. Rutile, I don't know what that is, but it's got SST, basic, cellulosic. Holy, I have to check that out. Wire size, pretty obvious, that'll be your electrode size. It's definitely getting into the pro level stick welding, almost like you're gonna be a pipeline welder or something like that, but for the home sort of prosumer level, it's getting quite technical. Going into the main menu, this is the first time for me as well. You've got Wi-Fi settings there, so you can connect it to the internet for software updates. It's got a QR code, which I think helps Unimig identify your machine. Maybe if there's any warranty issues or something like that, they need to diagnose something for you. Language selection if you're in a different country. Machine information, serial number, machine model, firmware version, and HMI version. Plug and play says that's for different torch modules. So maybe when I plug in the MIG torch, because it's got digital controls on the handpiece, maybe that comes up in there. And software updates, pretty explanatory with that one. Righto, let's have a look at everything that comes with it stock in the box before you have to get your optional accessories. You've got your standard sort of earth clamp. It says it's 300 amp and 3 meters long. It's got a standard looking electrode holder for stick welding. It says that it's 3 meters long as well. Has your MIG torch set up, and it's pretty fancy, this one. It comes with a different liner as well for aluminium. I think the aluminium one is in there out of the box, and this one's a steel liner. The MIG torch says it's 3 meters long. Let's crack it open. That's your liner, says it suits 0.9 to 1.2 millimeter wire. The MIG torch is where it starts to get a little fancy. It has a swivel in the base, nice big handpiece on it. Says it's a Unimig DM26 digital MIG torch. Definitely looks pretty serious. It's got this control on the handle, sort of like an up, down, left, right, almost like a PlayStation controller. When you're in synergic mode, it'll increase your current up and down. When you're in manual mode, it does voltage up and down. With the left and right buttons, when you're in synergic mode, it is to decrease or increase arc length. When you're in manual mode, it'll decrease or increase wire length. It's definitely a bit fancier than the Lincoln one that I had, which had a trigger. That was it. It's definitely next level compared to the Lincoln, but it is double the price, so I guess you get double the features. Next out of the box is your different size wire rollers. Pretty straightforward. Got your gas connection from your bottle to the back of the machine. Got your standard argon gas regulator to go on your cylinder. It's got this little spiky tube thing. It's hollow, it has a C-clip on one end. I'm not sure what that's for, and I can't find anything about it in the manual, so stay tuned. They're definitely leaning heavy on the aluminium welding with this unit. It comes with aluminium wire straight out of the box, a little 2 kilo spool. Standard, it comes with a consumables kit for MIG. Nice little case. Got some welding pliers to go with it as well. And then it's got some sort of consumables for MIG welding. So it's got your sort of nozzle shields for the end of it. You got some collets and a heap of tips. I'm guessing they're different wire sizes. There's 5 of each from 0.8 through to 1.2. So that's pretty good. There's like 20 nozzles in there. Now we get into the optional accessories. So it doesn't come with a TIG lead out of the box. And I think that's because there's a 4 meter version and an 8 meter version. And in the 4 meter, there's a standard one and a Euro one. I've gone with the 8 meter. So a couple of years back, I had a Sigweld 200, which was just TIG only, but it had an 8 meter lead. The Lincoln, you could only get a 4 meter, and 8 meters sounds long, but it's really not. If you're, got the machine over in the corner somewhere or next to a trailer, and you want to weld up on top of a canopy or up on top of a trailer or whatever you're doing there, then the 8 meters is definitely handy, because a lot of the time you're going to run across the floor. Even if you're just standing welding at a bench, sometimes you want to be able to, run the lead around your neck and sort of hang it to take the tension pulling back while you're welding. It is pretty handy. So, extra length is always good.
That's what she said.
Normal connection on one end, it's got your electrode connection, your gas feed, and the twin one that goes in the front, which will control the trigger. The 8 meter TIG torch is another $509, but it is fairly premium. It's got a nice swivel in the base of it to get good range of motion. Simple trigger on the back side there. Has a flex head, which is really handy if you're welding into corners and things like that. And it comes with some standard starter consumables. It's got collets, a gas lens, it's got a red tip, which I think is 2% thoriated, tungsten. I think that's in a 2.4 mil. Got your standard length back cap. And it also comes with this little spanner that helps you tighten up back caps and get collets out and things like that. So yeah, pretty handy. For the TIG consumables, they also do a starter kit, and then they do this Super Series kit. So of course I went for the Super Series one, which was another $199. And pretty much it comes with 3 different sizes of Pyrex and ceramic gas lenses, so you can get that big column of gas flow if you're doing stainless and things like that. And your various size gas lenses. Yeah, nice big coverage there. The kit comes with 2 of each size in the gas lenses and 1 of each of those sizes in Pyrex and ceramic. For the Lincoln, I bought one of those Furic kits that you see on Instagram and that all the time. Highly expensive getting it from the US. They are, it is nice gear, but pricey. So in the end, I just started using your standard sort of cups from a local welding shop, a BOC I think it was, just because it was a lot more cost effective. You can also get a foot pedal. I think it's another $3.99. I haven't had to use one to date so far with the Lincoln machine. So not sure if I would really use one. So I've held off on that for a little bit until I get some sort of use case for needing it in the future. I think that's enough chit chat for an unboxing. Let's get this thing set up and run a test weld. Right, I've gone through the basic machine setup as per the manual, and hopefully I should be good to weld double pulse aluminium MIG. For complete transparency, I've had an alarm coming up on the screen every so often when I fire it up about a inverter failure, I think it is, or inverter failed to power up. I'll put it on the screen here so you can see the code number. After a few restarts, it seems to go away. The first time it happened was when I first turned it on trying to set it up, but it did need a heap of firmware and control screen updates. So I did those and I thought, oh yeah, maybe it's something to do with the firmware and it'll be gone, but it's still happening. But yeah, after a few restarts, it goes away. Now it seems to be working. Let's give it a test weld. I've just got some spare bits and pieces, some little offcuts, coupons. They're 2.5mm from my canopy build. Yeah, so I've just cleaned up the edges, some basic prep, give them a buff, hit them with some acetone. I'm gonna try maybe that one and this longer one just with a butt weld. And I've got this profile piece as well that was out of the inside bracing of my canopy doors. It's 3mm, so 0.5mm bigger. Machine settings, all I've done is put it into double pulse, dial in the thickness at 2.5mm. Your arc gap is set at 0%, so I'm just going to leave it at that. That was the default, so I'll start with that. Gas flow in the manual says 10 to 12 litres, so I've got that set to that. No idea how this is going to go, so the only way is to give it a crack. Wow, that is wild. I don't know about you, but that is pretty impressive out of the box. It's very, very hot. Out of the box, just bang. Look at the flatness on that. Flat as. Look, it's probably not NDT spec, but penetration is pretty good.
That's what she said. Or he said.
Does have a line across the back there. I've got no idea what I'm meant to be doing for travel speed and that. I'm sort of using like a mild steel MIG angle roughly. We'll have a crack at this longer piece. That's probably 120, 130mm long. It's hard to see on camera to appreciate it, but it's a very flat, just uniform weld. I wasn't too sure. I was just sort of going along. I'm not weaving. I'm not doing C's, U's, anything. I'm not zigzagging, triangles, nothing. I was just going straight. At the end, I thought, oh, maybe I'll do some weaves or something, but it actually started to blow a hole in it. I screwed up the end a little bit, but pretty impressive. Putting these profiles together, I wonder if I can tack one side and then come back to it. I definitely need to work on getting more uniform. I was a bit high at the start there, sitting still. You can see that it's a bit raised and tall there. Probably a bit scalloped out and shallows through there. This half here is pretty good, but I didn't finish off very well. So definitely need some practice. Really impressed with the Unimig machine straight out of the box. Some pretty amazing welds, but I need to get a bit of time on the machine, do a few projects, punch it out a little bit, get some fine tuning done just when it comes to gun movement and tailing off the weld to get rid of that crater. So that's going to take me a little bit, and I'll do a follow-up review in another few months, I guess. If you've got any specific questions, let me know down in the comments. I'll try and do a follow-up video answering as many of those as I can. Other than that, that's about it for this one. See you next time.